He is opinionated and truthful to a fault. Some might call him ruthless, others call him Mr. Wonderful. Kevin O'Leary is our shark from the tank today. Kevin's story of success starts where most do, with a simple idea. From his basement, he launched his software company, which he later sold to Mattel Toy Company for a whopping $3.7 billion. True to form, Mr. Wonderful didn't leave his newfound wealth in the hands of others. He took control himself and founded a mutual fund company, O'Leary Funds. Since then, Kevin has worked hard to make his money work for him through various investments, including those that you've seen him make on the ABC hit TV show Shark Tank. I know your time as listeners will be well rewarded with some solid advice from Mr. Wonderful. Just be sure that you can handle the truth. Kevin, welcome to our set here at Success.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
So, Kevin, I have to start by asking you, where did you get the nickname Mr. Wonderful?
You know, we're trying to find the tape where that actually started. Not sure exactly, but it was probably, it could have been Barbara or somebody else being facetious or cynical about one of my offers. Because, as you know, I'm the only shark that has any creativity in structuring deals. And she was probably saying, oh, it's not the typical 10% for $200,000. He's got one of his ideas. Isn't he just wonderful? I don't know how it stuck, but wow. I mean, it's crazy now.
Yeah.
I show up for limos and they don't know my name. They just call me Mr. Wonderful. It's kind of scary.
You wonder whether they're laughing at you or they are just actually seeing the true Kevin inside you, that wonderful center soft spot.
Well, I look at it this way. I am wonderful because I'm the only shark that tells the truth. Everybody else is worried about your feelings. I'm worried about your money.
And that's another nickname that has gone by, which is the Merchant of Truth. So I want to get into some of that merchandising of truth here. But first, let's start out with that little soft center spot. I read where you said that your mom was the one in which you learned your business intuition from. So share a few of her more poignant business lessons with us.
She was very pragmatic and was drilling into my head some concepts I didn't understand at the time, but very wise in the idea that if you teach them early, they become ingrained in your philosophy of investing. So she was a working mom, and she'd take a third of her paycheck on Thursdays. Back in those days, in the early 60s, they paid them with cash. And she would invest it in corporate bonds and in stocks that paid dividends. And she'd always say to my brother and I, never spend the principal, boys, only the interest. She would never buy a security that didn't have yield. And after she died, I became the executive of her estate and found out she had a secret account she kept from both of her husbands for her entire life. And I saw the results inherent in what she achieved over 50 years of just buying dividend-paying stocks and corporate bonds. It blew me away. And so the lesson I learned in life was that what matters in investing is return of capital. And that's, if you don't get a dividend, you don't get interest, you never get your money back, basically. And so it's really helped me achieve a certain level of success in my own life, and I've never wavered from that philosophy.
Excellent advice that all of us need to hear. Now, Kevin, you make a big deal about money, but wealth actually isn't your ultimate goal. Tell us, what is your ultimate goal and why?
I've met so many entrepreneurs in my journey, and I've always asked them, what was it, what drove you? What made you work so hard? Why did you want to build what you built? It was never about money. It was not about greed. It was about a passion they had to be successful. And fear was a great motivator. Fear of failure. It certainly worked for me in the tougher times, and every business achieves those. My message to the young cohorts that I teach today, and I teach at places like MIT, the graduating cohorts in engineering, or Notre Dame, the business classes, is, the pursuit of wealth or the pursuit of money is not what being an entrepreneur is all about. It's about the pursuit of freedom. What does it mean to be wealthy? You're free. You don't have to pick up the phone if you don't want to. You can achieve anything you wish in terms of goals that interest you. You can go anywhere you want, provide for any family member or charity you wish. That's the definition of freedom. And that is the essence of the American dream. It's not about greed of money. I don't need more money. I need more time. I'm enjoying the things that I've wanted to do with my life that I've been able to because of success as an entrepreneur. So I'm trying to get young entrepreneurs to understand this pursuit of freedom is an amazingly noble thing. It is the essence of what makes our economy great. It's what we need in America today. When you create a company and you're successful, you create jobs. You create wealth for people in the private sector that provide for their personal freedom one day. There is nothing more noble than that. It never had anything to do with money. And when I talk to entrepreneurs that I've met that have achieved massive success, it's always been the same story. They woke up one day and said, wow, I'm rich, but I don't care about that. I'm free. That's what matters.
I agree. So now I've heard you say, Kevin, that you believe successful entrepreneurs owe the next generation of entrepreneurs a roadmap to success. So I want to have you highlight some of those points along your roadmap that you think most other entrepreneurs can benefit from. What are a couple of few major milestones that you'd want to pass forward?
Well, number one is you need to look at yourself in the mirror, particularly when you're starting a business, and understand your weaknesses. It's far more important to know what you're not good at than your successes and know what you can achieve. Because what holds you back in a business is when you try and do everything yourself and the things that you're not good at really kill you. And so I learned early on, finding those partners that, complement my skills was the key. I'm a sales and marketing guy. I understand balance sheets, so numbers, I can work with numbers. I hate logistics, making widgets and shipping them somewhere. Couldn't care less. I'll make the product, I'll dream it up, I'll sell it, but I need a team to actually manufacture, inventory, control logistics, because I hate that stuff. I know that about my stuff, about myself. So I'm very, cognizant of what my skill sets are. So I tell young entrepreneurs, the first thing is an inventory of who you are and admit your weaknesses. When people come in the Shark Tank and tell me they can do it all, I know they're full of crap. And that I generally don't invest in single person deals because I know no one has all that skill set. I love teams. I love companies that come in with 2 or 3 or 4 people saying, we've been doing this for 3 years together. We figured out what we're good at and we're moving forward in this configuration. I dig that. That I get. And that's market tested stuff. So that's a big attribute that I've learned.
So everybody sees you today, Kevin, as the wealthy celebrity superstar. I want to take you back to the beginning of the Wikipedia page, so to speak, the beginning of the entrepreneur roller coaster ride. I read where you've eaten cat food and you've worked at scraping gum off the floor and some previous jobs that you had before becoming Mr. Wonderful. Talk about which of those was more life-changing for you and why.
They both have a place in my DNA, and I think experiences, and including those that are failures, help make an entrepreneur what they are. Probably the most profound when I was young was my first job at a place called Magoo's Ice Cream Parlor. And, I had just got the job, and there was, in high school, I think I was in grade 11 or something like that. And on my first day, when it was over, my job was to scoop ice cream after school. I think the mall closed at 9:00 at night or something. So plan was to work and then go home, do homework and get back up. But it was really my first hourly job for the owner. So after the first day, she said to me, listen, before you leave, get down. It had sort of a Mexican tile floor. Take this and scrape all the gum out of the cracks. Now, there was a girl across working in the shoe store that I was really hot for, and she was in my class, and, she was waving at me and stuff during the day. I was pretty excited about this whole deal. I didn't want her to see me on my knees scraping gum off the floor, because I didn't think I got hired to do that. And she said to me, no, look, I own this place. I hired you to do anything I want you to do, so get down there and scrape off the gum. I said, listen, I am not a gum scraper. I'm an ice cream scooper, and there's a difference. And she said, you're fired. I didn't get it. I was stunned. I was so embarrassed. I rode my bicycle home in tears, and I was just shocked. And I learned such an important lesson in that when you own a business, you control it. When you're an employee, you work for somebody else. That's the first lesson. And it was profound on me. And I knew from that day on, I would never, ever work for somebody else again. I owe that woman such a debt of gratitude. And so, it's those lessons in life that are so important.
So explain to those that are listening why you think that this is important, that people have experiences like scraping gum off a floor. What does it do for their future success?
It's humbling. It's important to understand that the road to success is filled with the potholes of failure. And your job is to understand not to step in them if you can avoid it, and learn from others that came before you and listen to their advice. If you're going to take the path of being an employee, and there's nothing wrong with that because not everybody's going to own their own company, understand where you fit in the pecking order and be the best employee you can be, which means help your boss make money. And you'll do very well. You'll have time on your hands. You can go to your kids' soccer games on Saturday. You can live a really great life. But it's not for me. If you're going to own a business, run a business, build a business, be a leader, take those risks, be an entrepreneur, that's a whole different life. And you have to understand the sacrifices that you're going to make, and there are plenty. And that's the other lesson I teach now, these young cohorts that are graduating. If you want to be an entrepreneur in today's world, there is no balance. You have to understand you're going to work 25 hours a day. And you're going to be competing with people in Shanghai and Mumbai and Phnom Penh and who knows where else that want to kick your ass. And if you're ready to do that, you better be ready to sacrifice.
I agree. So tell us, what's been your favorite investment that you've made on Shark Tank?
I had a philosophy a few seasons ago as Shark Tank started to explode. I mean, it kind of went geometric in its third year. And because I remember the moment I realized things had changed. I was sitting in an airport with my daughter and my wife, and I said, "Okay, I'm gonna go to the men's room." So I walked in, and there was a guy on my right at the urinal, and he kept looking at me, kept turning his head left. This had never happened to me before, and he said to me, "Are you Kevin O'Leary, that guy on Shark Tank?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You're an asshole," and And I said, "Why would you say that? I mean, this is the first time anybody had ever recognized me anywhere." And we got into a huge debate about a deal that was on Shark Tank that time. I think it was on Sunday or Tuesday night. And he was really laying into me. I said, "Look, it's my money. I'll do whatever I want." He said, "I took too much of the percentage of the company. The first round should have been less than 30%. And he was really, very upset. And I said, "Look, deals get done in men's rooms all the time, but not today." And so he walks out, and he couldn't have known that Linda and my daughter were standing there waiting for me. So he goes up to Linda and says, "That asshole Kevin O'Leary's in the men's room." And she said, "I know." It's a true story. And that was the turning point for Shark Tank. And what I began to realize is people are watching this platform. So it's a long story to tell you what my favorite deal is, but here it is. I decided when we had around 7 million people watching Shark Tank, could I isolate and test the value of the platform itself, agnostic to geography or product or sector of the economy? Could I take a commodity, something that is available everywhere already, that has no proprietary value whatsoever, put it on Shark Tank and simply measure the growth of that single product as a result of its exposure to this amazing platform? Because when you think about what Shark Tank is, it's a venture capital firm on steroids. It's got operators that were successful. It's got billions of dollars of capital to invest. But here's the secret sauce. It's got millions of people watching it for an hour. And so I thought, okay, let's try something like a cupcake. Water, milk, butter, eggs, flour. Anybody can make a cupcake. You can buy one wherever you are in America. It's a commodity. There was a deal called Wicked Good Cupcakes, and she wanted $75,000. There's nothing proprietary about what she does. She was shipping them across the country in a mason jar, and she needed a commercial kitchen. So I said to her, and it was kind of a big deal because it was the first royalty deal ever done on Shark Tank, which is talking about structures of deals is interesting. But she said to me, "Look, if you can get me a commercial kitchen, my margins will explode and I can grow market share." And I thought, what a great way to test the Shark Tank factor. She was doing about 12 or 15,000 a month in sales, making nothing. I gave her 75,000. I said, "Give me $1 off every jar until I get my 75,000 back, and then 50 cents in perpetuity." And she agreed to do it at 45 cents, and that was the beginning of the very first non-equity, all-royalty deal on Shark Tank. Cuban was having a hissy fit about it. He just thought it was crazy, and everybody was barking at me like a dog. I didn't care. I thought it was a great way to test. So get this. They air at 9 o'clock. Within 3 weeks, they had done $365,000 in sales. This company is wildly successful now. FedEx tells me it's the number one cake put in a FedEx box today that goes back and forth across America. That is the Shark Tank factor. They were great entrepreneurs, two women that were running this business, but the power of the platform is incredible. That's why the show is so cool.
Yeah. Well, let's get some more truth from you, Kevin. Explain the number one thing any entrepreneur must have before they even think about entering the Shark Tank or looking for an investor or partner or starting a business and jumping on the entrepreneur roller coaster ride here. What's one thing that they must have?
I'm going to give you 3 things.
Great.
You're going to find this interesting. If you look back at the history of Shark Tank and you look at every single company that got financed, and there are hundreds now, there are 3 attributes present in every single case. In fact, it's remarkable how important these are. And I make these my major points when I teach entrepreneurs. In every case where a deal gets done on Shark Tank, all of these are present. Number 1, they're able to articulate their idea in 90 seconds or less. They're good at communicating the benefit of that idea in 90 seconds or less. Number 2, they're able to explain, and usually this is their teams involved. Number 2, they're able to explain why they're the right team to execute the business plan. And number 3, and this is where most of them blow up. They get past the first 2. You can feel the excitement in the tank. It's sizzling like an isotope in there. And then they don't know their numbers. You have to know your numbers, or I will personally eviscerate you. I will leave blood stains on the carpet because you got that chance and you didn't bring someone who knows numbers. You're an idiot. So in business, you got to understand numbers. So the numbers give you the confidence that you're going to get a return on your investment. So in all cases, you have to be able to articulate your vision in 90 seconds or less, explain why you're the right person to execute it, and number 3, back it up with your knowledge of the business model in the form of numbers. That turns out to be important for any executive in any company, large or small, that wants to be a leader.
Excellent advice. All right. So, Kevin, as we start to wind this up, let's just do some rapid fire questions just to get to know you a little bit and see what comes top of mind here. What would you say is your superpower? Tony Shea from Zappos says everybody's got a superpower, something that they do uniquely that just comes to them naturally, that special gift that's different than everybody else. What do you think is your superpower?
The ability to tell the truth regardless of the consequences 100% of the time.
Okay. On the flip side, what is your favorite Disney princess?
Cinderella. She was a gold digger.
I love it. Okay. 3 books that most influenced your success.
Keith Richards' autobiography, a book about the band The Doors, and I'd have to say my third and most controversial is Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged.
Now, you're teaching at universities, you're writing books, you're obviously trying to educate and enlighten entrepreneurship. Why do you think people need to invest in their personal growth and development and work at building their skills? What's that pitch that you need to make to everybody else about why make that investment?
I figure for about a third of the population, being an entrepreneur is a very good outcome for self-fulfillment and self-awareness, and is good for our economy and good for our kids and good for our future. There's something about it that is just magic, even though it's extremely challenging and it is, fraught with failure and success, and the outcome is never known. The best way to look at it and why it's so motivating are the words of Jim Morrison, who was really a poet, in The Doors. I love that band because they were so advanced, and I recently went to visit Morrison's grave in Paris just a couple of months ago. The future is uncertain, and the outcome is not known, and the end is always near. That motivates entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. The future is uncertain, and the end is always near. is the end of a really beautiful song that was used in multiple films. And, Apocalypse Now actually uses that. It's really the definition of the entrepreneurial journey. And I think that you should think about that. If you're willing to live with that environment, it can be immensely invigorating when you achieve success. You face that beast, the darkness of failure, the risk of bankruptcy, the unknown, the uncertainty, and you achieve success. There's nothing like it in life.
Well, speaking of definitions, and this one in particular, last question for you. When it's all said and done, how do you define success?
It's simple. It's one word: freedom. That's it.
Well, Mr. O'Leary, you've lived up to your name. It has been wonderful to glean some of your best ideas on entrepreneurship and success and visiting with you here on our set here at Success. Thanks so much for being with us, and wish you continued inspiration as you help others find their own journey in entrepreneurship and success. Thanks for being with us, Kevin.
Thank you very much, my friend. Take care.
Okay, I have to say Mr. Wonderful is, well, actually kind of wonderful. He shared a wealth of knowledge there. I took so many notes when I heard the interview that I'm not even sure which ones I most want to share, but I think I can narrow it down. Let me see. First off, I know the number one thing I personally need to do based off what Kevin O'Leary shared is to take an inventory of who I am. He noted that every entrepreneur, or anyone for that matter, needs to know what they can and can't do. So it's time to do a spring cleaning of your life, if you will, and that starts with an inventory of what